So today we're talking about K-pop quora. I don't really think I need to explain more. If you don't know, K-pop quora is one of the most interesting places that a K-pop fan can come across. And when I tell you that I've been so excited to make this video ever since the beginning of my channel, I really do mean it. Because when I first created this channel, this was the video that I was the most anticipating and the one that I really wanted to make, but I had to wait a little bit until I had a few subscribers so that it would actually reach some people. And I haven't seen anyone else do this video, but I know that K-pop fans know for the most part what quora is and what it's known for. But if you're not one of those K-pop fans who knows what it's known for, basically nothing good. Okay, K-pop quora is where some of the worst K-pop opinions go to die. And I'm going to be taking a look at those today and reviewing them, I guess, giving my opinion on them. Now, there are some signature toxic stands like, oh, can I date Namjoon or stuff like that. And that was pretty much excluded from this video because I don't take those opinions seriously. Sometimes I honestly think they're satire. I hope that they are. But these are some of the more normal ones, I guess. Basically how I did this, I wanted to be a little bit diverse. So what I did was I went through the specific spaces called unpopular K-pop opinions, and I chose one opinion from each post because usually people post a bunch in a single thread, and so I just chose one from each. And yeah, I tried to put together a lot of diverse opinions, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But before I begin, I just wanted to put out a little bit of an explanation for some of the things that have been happening on my channel recently. So you may have seen that my previous video, the one that I released before this one, the Girls Planet 999 episode 1 recap, is no longer on my channel, and that is because I was copyright striked. Yay! Mnet took down the video because I used one of the videos from them, and I don't know. I tried to avoid it. I even mirrored the video and everything, but I really couldn't avoid it, and I think that's my sign to stop making those videos. They're also quite time-consuming, and my schedule is going to be getting a lot busier, so yeah, it was just not in the cards for me. So if you were looking forward to more episodes of that series, I'm unfortunately going to tell you that it's pretty much over now. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Mnet kind of sucks with their copyright striking, but you know, I have to deal with it. So that's really all I have to say, but that's a negative thing. But now let's just get on into the video where we can be a bit more, I'm not going to call quora positive, but at least it's a bit of a mood brightener. So I hope you enjoy. Alright, so the first opinion says, I think if Irene's scandals happened in an idol who is less preferable in general public eyes, it could be the end of his or her career and received more backlash. I actually agree with this opinion. I think that the Korean public especially has such a favorable bias towards Irene. You know, she's this visual that they all adore. She's very well known, and I think that led her to get a lot more support and defense from her fans in particular. People were willing to let it slide because, you know, it's Irene. Everybody loves Irene. If it was to happen to an idol who was less supported and less well known, people would be up in arms because bullying is not necessarily a thing that the Korean public or even the international public takes lightly. I'm not saying that her case was exactly bullying, but I mean, being rude to staff is like pretty equivalent to that. And I know that she did apologize and things like that, but even before, a lot of people were defending her, and I think that definitely comes from the fact that she has a solid fan base. As I was saying, if this had happened to a less prominent idol, then people would probably not have supported them as much because they just don't have the fans to come to their defense. So I think Irene got pretty lucky that she happens to be in a big three girl group and have a lot of fans, because if not, I think that this would have been received very differently and she would probably be in a lot of hot water. So yeah, I do agree with that opinion. Alright, so the next opinion is, when people complain about line distribution, I find it a bit annoying. There's always a reason as to why a certain member gets more lines. For example, their voice fits the part better than the other vocalists or rappers of the group. I agree that some line distributions are somewhat outrageous. For example, Everglow's discography. If you listen to the original version of Adios on YouTube, you see that the original distribution doesn't sound that good because all of the girls have different voices and some of their voices fit different concepts. Now, I do agree with this opinion. I think that the notion that every single member has to get the same amount of lines is pretty stupid. They have parts and roles in the group for a reason. So I think that in the sense of like complaining when somebody gets 1 second less than another member, I think that that's pretty stupid. However, this person gives the example of Everglow, and I think that the main person that we're talking about here is Onda, because she's the person that usually gets the least amount of lines, and by a landslide. And I want to touch on this because I think that, like, yes, it is true that if you listen to the original version of Adios on YouTube, like, Onda had a lot of lines, but they didn't sound good. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend her in any way, but they just didn't sound good. The song sounds much better when Mia, who was the person who usually took those lines, had the most lines there. And so I think that in that sense, the companies should definitely focus on song quality, but that raises the question, like, why did they debut these idols in the first place? Like, what do they add to the group if their parts in songs sound bad and they have to be sacrificed to another member who could actually make it sound good? What is the point in debuting them? I think that idols like Onda, I'm not trying to insult Onda in any way, but she should not have debuted in Everglow, in my opinion. I think that, like, her talents could be better used somewhere else. Yes, she's a good dancer, but, like, if she is getting 1 second of line distribution, which I feel like has definitely happened before at some point, let's be honest. If she's getting 1 second of line distribution, again, what is the point? Okay, I just don't see the purpose in ruining an idol's career by debuting them and then not using them. So I think that, like, if an idol is getting significantly less lines because they're simply not talented enough to have a lot of lines, then they shouldn't be in the group in the first place. Okay, so the next opinion is, most of the time, the people who say blank could be a main dancer or vocalist or rapper in another group are lying to themselves. I love Lisa, but there's no way she could be a main vocalist in another group. I love Namjoon, but sorry, he's not the best vocalist, although his karaoke skills are unmatched. I mean, yeah, Namjoon's karaoke skills are unmatched. But in reference to this opinion, I think if you agree with this opinion, I would really recommend checking out the video that I did on my channel called PSA, Your Underrated Faves Are Not Special, because it does talk about this a little bit in the context of the least popular member of the group. People, like, overhyping their skills and being like, they could be the main rapper or the main vocalist in a different group. Like, no, they couldn't. I'm sorry, but they couldn't. Like, stop fooling yourself. So in a sense, I do agree with this opinion, but a lot of the times people say this because they actually mean it. I think that in some contexts it's okay, but in the sense of, like, trying to make your idol look more talented than they are, stop, you know? Like, it's embarrassing. Just stop. Okay, next. They have, and by they, this means BTS, because this is under a question that was specifically referring to BTS. BTS has one of the most unique vocal lines in all of K-pop. You all like to bash them for having a weak vocal line, but at least we know who is singing at the time because they have color and versatility, so they have different sounds. And yes, I know other groups have it too, but I've never really seen any other boy group who does it like BTS. Alright, so a lot to unpack here. So first of all, I do agree. BTS does have a lot of color in their vocal line. I think especially because they have, like, 4 individual members who've got different, like, I don't know, tones and sounds. I think it's very good in that sense. However, if we're talking about whether or not I think BTS has, like, the best vocal line, I wouldn't quite say so, because while every single individual member is super talented, they don't really blend well together at some times. Like, yes, it's good that you can distinguish who is singing, but sometimes specific voices stand out in a way that's not necessarily good. I think it's good to have individuality, but it's also good to, you know, be a group. Like, they are a group. They're not 4 solo artists performing on a stage together. And I feel like that's what it sounds like sometimes. And if I'm being completely honest, I think that I appreciate all of the 4 vocal line members' voices more whenever I'm listening to their solo songs, because then they can truly have time to shine. When nothing seems cohesive, it's kind of hard to appreciate them individually. And so I don't know, I think, like, having 4 good vocalists does not necessarily equate to 1 good vocal line. So next is an opinion about Island. I think a main reason K wasn't chosen by the producers was his age. He would have been 4 years older than the second oldest member. With Nicki, the age range is smaller and targeted more towards a younger audience. Also, he's not offering anything new to ENHYPEN. Not saying he's not talented, because he is very talented, but Nicki would be the main dancer, Heesinger J would be the leader, and Heesung and Jungwon have stronger vocals. With Sunwoo, he has a different personality and a very strong Korean fan base. K's personality didn't click with many fans after Mnet editing, along with the rumors on Twitter that day. The producers probably thought it was better to go with Sunwoo. Okay, that's a mouthful. So I did watch Island. I enjoyed it very much. It was the first survival show that I had ever watched, and so I thought it was pretty interesting. I stand in a hype in now, and I definitely had a lot of opinions on K in particular. Now, this person says the main reason was his age. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think his age was a big factor. I think it was more so the fact that, like, in the end, in the final, it came down to him and Sunu was just a better choice because he had more fans, and also, like, thinking about it, it would make more sense to retain a fan base of an individual member because a lot of Sunwoo stans were like, I don't know, I don't want to say solo stans because that has a negative connotation, but like, were there for Sunwoo in particular, and getting rid of him would make ENHYPEN as a whole collective group lose a bunch of fans. And so I don't know, I think they just kind of sacrificed K there. I don't know if it was Mnet's evil editing or if he was actually like really acting like that on the show. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, he was a bit rude on the show. I don't know, a lot of people blame it on Mnet editing. I can see that happening. In particular, I think that like he seemed to have some kind of superiority complex. I don't know, I watched it. I didn't even like Kay on the show because I kind of bought into the editing and was like, oh no, Kay's so mean. I don't know, he was like making offhand remarks and things like that, even to members of ENHYPEN now, like Sunwoo in particular. I think he was like pretty biased against Sunwoo for some reason, so I don't know. I didn't necessarily want him to debut. I was happy Sunwoo debuted because he's my bias and was my Island bias as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think his age was a factor. I think it was just because popularity and whatnot. The next opinion reads, it's okay to not like cutesy concepts. I thoroughly dislike cutesy concepts, and that is okay. For me, it grates my nerves because it seems so forced and fake. To be honest, Blackpink's badass concept compared to their cutesy selves in interviews feels just as fake. People hate on fans who hate cutesy concepts, but for me, it's not that I don't like the group as people, I just can't listen to these super sugary songs and enjoy them. That doesn't make me closed-minded or prejudiced, I just don't like them. So, I think that, like, people need to understand that K-pop is just not that serious. Okay, if somebody dislikes something, it is not a big deal. K-pop is not politics. K-pop is not economics. Okay? It's a community that thrives on difference of opinion, and I think if somebody doesn't like cutesy concepts, that's totally fine. However, I do think that a lot of fans who don't like cutesy concepts like to use this generic excuse of like, oh, it's too forced, oh, it's too fake, which I don't think is a good representation of good cutesy concepts. Like, yeah, you have songs that are super, like, bubbly and kind of cringy. Think, I don't know, like Ice Cream by Blackpink. Well, I don't know. That's debatable, but in my opinion, it's a good song, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But if you're thinking of like the generic cutesy concept, then yeah, somebody might find that cringy. But there are groups that do cutesy concepts super well, and a good example of that is Twice. I think especially their newer music, because their newer music is still technically cutesy, but it's just not cringy. And I feel like a lot of people who say that they dislike cutesy concepts are only looking at those generic songs that, of course, everybody's gonna find them cringy. Like an idol doing Aegyo to no extent. Of course, that's cringy, but I don't know. I would encourage those fans who say that kind of thing to look into cutesy concepts being done well, because it definitely exists and it's definitely a masterpiece. I have a lot of thoughts on this one. Most K-pop reaction channels use K-pop for clout. I've seen so many K-pop reaction channels, and most of them overdo the reactions way too much. For example, Briss X Life. I don't know who that is. I get you like the song or whatever, but you don't have to be screaming into the mic every 5 seconds. Another thing that I see these days are cousins react. Like, what difference is it going to make that you guys are cousins? Okay, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on K-pop reaction channels because I think that, like, they do use K-pop for clout, and it's honestly kind of infuriating to me because when I see these videos, it's like watching those people, when you look back to the beginning of their channel, they probably weren't doing anything related to K-pop at all, which leads me to believe that either they're not actually fans of K-pop and they're capitalizing off of K-pop just because they know it's popular, or they simply got into K-pop after starting their channel, which is totally fine. But usually it's the former. The latter doesn't really happen that often, because a lot of the times that you see is like these channels that they're people that literally seem like the kind of people who shit on K-pop for fun, and then all of a sudden they see that that's what makes the money, and they're like, oh, okay, we're doing K-pop reaction videos now, which just makes my blood boil, because honestly, like, if you don't even like the thing and you're the type to like bully people who like that thing, don't expect to make money from it. I don't give my money to those people. I don't watch those channels specifically because I don't want to support them. I know that there's a lot of genuine K-pop fans who do these types of videos, which is fine. I get that the overdone reactions are a little bit cringy. However, I do also think that it's important to acknowledge the fact that these reaction channels actually might help the K-pop groups themselves, because a lot of the times what you see is like these very famous channels starting to do K-pop reaction videos, and yeah, it's obviously clout chasing on their part, but it also gives a level of new viewers to those K-pop groups that they're reviewing. Like, I'm not a fan of PewDiePie, but PewDiePie, he's got like 100 million subscribers, and he's done videos reacting to BTS, and yeah, that was definitely a cash grab for him, but think of the amount of PewDiePie stans who didn't even know BTS existed, who went to go check out their music videos after seeing that video. Or, I don't know, like Bryce Hall. I despise Bryce Hall, but I'm sure a bunch of Bryce Hall fans, like 12-year-olds or whatever, went and watched a BTS video after, or a Blackpink video, I think he reviewed Blackpink, after seeing him do a reaction video to that. And so I think it's kind of a give-take situation. Yeah, it sucks seeing them clout chase off of K-pop, but at the same time, I think that it is somewhat beneficial to the K-pop groups themselves. That's not to say that K-pop needs clout from people like Bryce Hall, but you can't deny that they probably got at least one new viewer because of it. So the next opinion is, Rose is the most enthusiastic member when it comes to music. Rose seems to be one of the members who seems to have this want to actually be a singer. Although Blackpink is not Blackpink without all four, I feel like Jennie would be better off as a social media influencer or a model. Not sure about Lisa, and Jisoo joined YG to act. So I both agree and disagree with this. So I do agree with the fact that I think that Rose is the most enthusiastic member when it comes to music, simply because she seems to have the most extensive background when it comes to music. She's stated in the Blackpink documentary that she was singing ever since she was little, she played guitar, and none of the other members really seem to be a big singer or rapper or whatever. I know Lisa danced, but I don't think that's necessarily one and the same with music and K-pop, because you can still be a dancer without being a K-pop idol. Jennie said that she kind of made the decision to be an artist on a whim, and Jisoo, this person is correct, joined YG to be an actress. So yes, I do agree that out of the four, Rose is definitely the most enthusiastic when it comes to music. This shows even now, if you watch the documentary, I think it's a great representation of like Rose's passion when it comes to music. On her solo project, she's done songwriting and she loves to sing. That's pretty clear. And not that the other people don't enjoy their jobs, but I just feel as though Rose shows more interest when it comes to that kind of thing. But I disagree with the fact that I think this person is kind of implying that the other three members don't necessarily want to be K-pop idols or that they're not suited for this job. I disagree. I think that Blackpink is pretty cohesive as a group. I think that Jennie, she's kind of a wild card because, again, she has really no background that I can think of that she's mentioned of her wanting to become an idol. It just kind of seemed to happen. I don't really know how this timeline works, but she suits the job, if that makes sense, because she also seems to enjoy it. She's very technical. I keep on bringing up the documentary because I feel like that's the only real behind-the-scenes look we get of them working, and Jennie seems to be the one who's the most technical about the little details, and so I think that she's pretty passionate about it. Lisa obviously loves to dance. Now, I don't know if she's really big on singing and rapping, because it seems to me as if dancing's her main career, or her main goal as an idol, which she's fulfilling pretty well. And then Jisoo, I have to be completely honest, I don't think Jisoo is the most enthusiastic when it comes to music. Out of the four, I probably would say that she's the least, simply because, again, she joined to act, and I feel like most of her interests come from the more behind the scenes part of being an idol rather than the actual singing and dancing on stage. So I don't know, I feel like Jisoo would suit being an actress more than an idol. That's not to say that she's a bad idol, but it just feels like she's just not as passionate about it as the other three. But I don't know. I still think Blackpink is pretty cohesive as a group. I like them as a group. Every single member doesn't seem like bored. At least that's something, because that happens a lot in groups. So I think like the dynamic they have right now is fine. But yes, Rose is definitely the most enthusiastic. Alright, and the final opinion is, people who stan groups because they are beautiful are stupid. My classmates, for example. It's like voting for Trump because you find him attractive. First of all, who voted for Trump because they found him attractive? Yeah, but that aside, I somewhat agree with this opinion. I think if you are a longtime fan of a group and the only reason you continue to listen to their music and watch their content is because you find them attractive, I think that that's stupid. But I think, like, when it comes down to it, and for being completely honest with ourselves, looks do matter, okay? I think that everybody likes to go on and on about how it's not about the attractiveness, it's about the personality, it's about the music. Like, yeah, we get it, but like when it comes down to it psychologically, people are just attracted to pretty people. And there are groups and idols who have a lot of pretty privilege. And that's not necessarily something that is your fault if you happen to like someone who's more conventionally attractive. It's, again, psychological. But I think it's important to recognize that, yes, it's somewhat of a trend to see prettier groups or prettier idols having more of a fan base because, you know, you're just more interested and attracted whenever somebody looks visually appealing to you. And I think also, for me personally, I first noticed the looks, obviously, and then that would be a reason for me to get into the group if I think that they might seem like the kind of people that I would enjoy watching talk and sing and whatnot. And then if I like their music and if I like their content, then I'll stan the group. But I don't think someone should ever stan a group simply because they're beautiful, but starting to stan a group because they're beautiful is somewhat understandable. It's something that I do myself. Alright guys, that does it for the video. I really enjoyed making this. In fact, when I was looking for the opinions to use in this video, I found a lot more that I didn't include here that I definitely want to make a video reacting to. I have them saved, and I definitely might make a part 2 to this video. So if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, and that will let me know that you guys want to see that part 2, because I definitely want to make it, but I'm not going to make it if you guys don't want to see it. And yeah, with that being said, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Our channel is growing so much, and I'm really just thankful for everybody who's been interacting with my videos. And even if you're new, just thank you for watching all the way to the end. That's really all I've got to say, so that's me signing off. I'll see you in the next video.